Everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight for News 4 at 6. I'm Matt Breen. We'll check in with Jessica in just a couple of minutes. You know, you've probably heard of or actually seen the Freedom Rocks. They're scattered all across Iowa. They're even in 9 other states as well. Now the artist is taking on a new task, creating murals to highlight brave Americans who've received the Medal of Honor. KTIV's Taylor Deckard has more on the project, which will start in western Iowa.
Ray Sorensen, the mural artist for the Freedom Rock Foundation, is setting out on his latest endeavor, the Medal of Honor Murals.
It's a tour I've been thinking about and dreaming about for a long time.
He says each mural would honor a Medal of Honor recipient with a portrait of them in action and their specific branch's medal.
Seeing their stories, reading their stories, seeing them, you know, portrayed and on the big screen and things like that. Since I was doing the Freedom Rock tour already across Iowa and across the country, this would be an incredible thing to do.
The Medal of Honor Highway, Highway 20, stretches over 300 miles across the state of Iowa, and the first mural is going to be placed in Sioux City.
Sioux City's mural will depict Brigadier General George Bud Day.
I kind of reached out to a few communities along Highway 20. Chris McGowan, he was very quick to reach out, and you know, he was like, we love Bud Day here. You know, he was a Medal of Honor recipient and great man.
It will be the start of an honor trail with a goal of highlighting 66 Medal of Honor recipients from Iowa. Sorensen wants each concrete column to be about 16 feet tall, 8 feet wide, standing along the highway. He's working with the Iowa DOT for ideas for placement.
Were they born in Iowa, or do they have ties or joined service in Iowa, or do they have some sort of connection to Iowa? So it depends on how exactly you want to look at it, but 60-ish will be in Iowa. At least, that'll be the start. Those are our Iowa Medal of Honor recipients. I'd kind of like to get them out of the way before we start nationwide.
His goal is to start this project before America's 250th birthday in 2026.
Hope is, if I don't get it placed this year, that it will be placed on the 250th anniversary of our country, which I think is incredibly fitting.
In Sioux City, Taylor Deckard, KTIV News 4.
Because he's right in the middle of planning where those murals will go, Sorensen is looking for a concrete precaster to work with. He's also looking for sponsors who want to help make the murals a reality. You can learn more about the project inside this story at KTIV.com. Here's a live look through the eye of our Signal Hill camera, high atop Signal Hill here in Sioux City. It was a cooler day today, thankfully, after the 90s we saw earlier this week. But